Hello and welcome everyone! Today we are tackling the 3 Lomei Labyrinths in Tears of the Kingdom to unlock the full Evil Spirit Armor set. The Evil Spirit Armor is actually one of the best sets in the game. It gives you stealth up, and when you wear the full set, you get the Bone Weapon Proficiency bonus. Now these mazes can be incredibly frustrating if you try and solve them the intended way by running through every single corridor, but there is a way to cheese all of them that makes this deceptively easy. We're going to cover the surface, sky, and depths portions for the North Lomei Labyrinth, the South Lomei Labyrinth, and Lomei Labyrinth Island. Let's start with the North Lomei Labyrinth up in the Hebra region. To get to the North Lomei Labyrinth, you want to launch yourself from the Paquita Stone Grove Skyview Tower, which is right here on the map. Once you're in the air, you're just going to paraglide east toward the giant maze structure. And also, if you haven't unlocked already, you can warp to the Osho Zanyu Shrine and head east. As you approach, don't try to go into the entrance. Instead, aim for the very top of the walls. You might need to use a little bit of stamina, or you can use Tulin's Gust to get there if you need to. But once you land on top, you can just run straight toward the center of the maze. And that's the secret to cheesing this labyrinth. See the star on my map right there? That's where you're going to want to head by running along the top of the walls of the labyrinth instead of going through it. There are no enemies up here on the roof, so it's a safe walk. Once you reach the star indicated on the map, look down and you'll see 2 torches by an alcove. Aim for that alcove right there. You can either go up the ladder or glide over, and you'll be on a walkway that will take you up some stairs. And once you reach the top of this staircase and look down, you will see the shrine at the bottom covered by some ice, and the terminal that needs to be activated will be down there as well. Be sure to melt the ice in front of the shrine and complete the shrine before moving on. The only thing you want to be careful of is that there are some gloom spawn down in this area, so just watch out for those. Once you activate that terminal, it triggers the North Lomei Prophecy side quest. Now we need to head up to the sky. For the sky portion, you need to reach the floating labyrinth directly above where you are. The easiest and I think funnest way is to build and use the air bike. If you'd like to see how to build the air bike, check out a link in the description where I have a video showing you how. If you have the Tananaud Shrine unlocked, that's going to be your closest shrine to warp to the North Lomei Sky Labyrinth. And if you don't have that shrine unlocked, look for the closest shrine to the North Lomei Sky Labyrinth that is unlocked and warp there. And as mentioned before, I highly recommend using the air bike to get from your warping point to the North Lomei Sky Labyrinth. Once you reach the labyrinth, do not yet activate the terminal. What you're going to want to do first is go up to the roof again of this part of the labyrinth and set a warp point. This can be done by using a travel medallion that you get from Robbie up in the Hatino Ancient Tech Lab. This part of the labyrinth has 4 terminals that need to be activated in order to proceed. I'll just show you here where each one of these 4 terminals are located. You have one in each corner essentially. You can tackle them in any order. And you can cheese this part of the labyrinth very easily by reaching those terminals from the roof instead of going through the maze itself. Once you've activated one terminal, just warp back to that warp point that you set to reach and activate the rest of the terminals in the Sky Labyrinth. Once you hit all 4 terminals, a new terminal appears at the very top of the sky structure. Activating this will open the grate on the ground, and this is the fun part. You're going to dive all the way from the Sky Labyrinth, through the Surface Labyrinth, and straight down into the Depths Labyrinth. Make sure you have some Bright Bloom seeds with you and ready to use. Down here you're going to face a Flux Construct 3. And here's a pro tip for fighting this guy. Once you jump off the ledge that leads down to the room that he is in, pull out your bow, attach something strong to it, I'm going to use some Gibdo bones, and fire away until Link hits the ground. You'll take off a lot of life off of the Flux Construct 3, and after you hit the ground, the construct will break apart and his core will fall to the ground where you can go and attack it some more. If it goes into its UFO form, just use recall on the blocks it throws at you and ride them up and keep attacking. And don't forget to activate the last terminal. Once you do, you will complete the North Lomei Prophecy quest, and the chest that holds the Evil Spirit Greaves will appear that you can go loot and claim. And that's all there is to it for this labyrinth. Next, let's head over to the South Lomei Labyrinth in the Gerudo Desert. This one can be a little tricky because of the heat, so make sure you have heat resistance food or armor. We're going to do the exact same cheese method. Launch from the Gerudo Canyon Skyview Tower, located here on the map, and glide toward the maze. This is a pretty long flight, so you might need to stop on some of the sky islands along the way to recharge your stamina if you run low. So I'm just north of the South Lomei Labyrinth, and I'm going to show you how to easily cheese the surface part of this labyrinth. The star on the map is a shortcut you're going to want to head for, but not by going through the maze, but on top of it. Yep, this is the secret to the surface part of this labyrinth. Go on the top of the labyrinth and not through the corridors. It's much easier and a huge shortcut. Once you reach the area on the map that I marked with a star, there's a platform down below that you're going to want to drop down onto. Make sure you use your paraglider so you don't get fall damage. Use it once again to go around the gloom, and you'll be in the corridor that leads to the shrine and the terminal. Don't forget to activate and complete the shrine while you're here. And once you've done that, go over and activate the terminal in this part of the labyrinth, which is straight across from the shrine, which will open the sky portion of the South Lomei Labyrinth and initiate the South Lomei Prophecy side quest. You can get to the sky section of the labyrinth easily by launching from the tower again and using a flying machine like the airbike. Or if you have the Rakeshag Shrine unlocked, you can warp there and fly over. Once you reach the Rakeshag Shrine, pull out your flying machine. Again, I highly recommend the airbike. Check the link in the description for a video that shows how to create it. And again, grab your machine and fly south towards the sky section of the South Lomei Labyrinth. Once you reach the sky section, do not immediately go down to the shrine and the terminal. What you're going to want to do first, and this is how you're going to cheese this section of the labyrinth, is fly up to the very top, the top floor section, the roof. Fly up to the roof. Here are the locations of the 4 terminals you need to find and activate, marked by the 4 golden stars. And once you're on the roof, what you're going to want to do is place a travel medallion And try and place it as close to the center of the map as you can. I'll show you why in just a minute. So what we're going to do now with the travel medallion set in the center of the maze is we're going to drop down from the top to the 4 different terminals that are located here on the map. And there is an opening in the roof for each of these 4 terminals. So using the travel medallion as our base point, essentially, we're going to drop down to one of the terminals and activate it, and then warp back to the travel medallion, go over to a different terminal, activate it, and essentially rinse and repeat this process until all 4 terminals have been activated. This process seriously saves so much time. No more worrying about wandering the corridors while paragliding trying to find your way to these terminals. Once you get all 4, the wind will pick up, and the final terminal that opens the gate to the depths appears up on the roof. So all that's left to do here is to just ride the winds up to the top of the labyrinth, head on over to the final terminal, and activate it. And also don't forget to get the treasure chest that's on the top of the labyrinth as well. After activating the last terminal, the way to the depths portion of the labyrinth will be open. Dive all the way down. Just let Link fall straight down. Just be sure to watch out for floating debris along the way. Whoop, like that. You'll enter the South Lomei Depths Labyrinth. Down here, it's another Flux Construct 3 boss fight. By this point, you should be pretty comfortable with these guys. And here's a little tip. If you have a multi-shot bow and some bond flowers, you can really make short work of this boss without even waiting for its phases. Just blast the glowing block. I'm attaching Gibdo bones to my arrows, but really, anything that you have to attach to your arrows that will do a lot of damage will work just fine. After the fight, open the chest to receive the Evil Spirit Mask. It's got that spooky Ocarina of Time vibe. Finally, we have the Lomei Labyrinth Island in the top right corner of the map. This one is the hardest to get to simply because it's out in the middle of the sea. You can fly over from the area just north of the Akala Ancient Tech Lab, or if you have the Rossiwalk Shrine unlocked and visited already, you can warp there and fly from that location instead, which is a little bit shorter. I highly recommend building the air bike. Just 2 fans and a steering stick to fly over the water and get to that labyrinth. Check the link in the description for my instructional video on how to build the air bike. This maze has a lot of gloom on the floor and the corridors, so staying on the top of the walls is actually safer here than in the other 2 labyrinths. You're going to want to head for the very top of the labyrinth, so fly over the top of it, and we're going to be landing on the top of the walls, right on the map here where that star is located. That's what we're aiming for, and that's how we're going to cheese the surface section of this labyrinth, is by flying directly to the shortcut. If you look down below, you'll see an opening in the wall down there at the bottom. That's what you're aiming for. So go ahead and drop down, pull out your paraglider before you hit the ground so you don't take damage. And from here, it's just a matter of taking the ladder and following the path directly to the shrine and the terminal. Just to the right in a little cubby space, you'll see thorns growing out of the ceiling. Past those thorns is a strong Zonite longsword that's at the end of a short path. So if you're interested in getting that, just burn those thorns away, climb up past them, and you can go and grab that before you continue on. Also, don't forget to activate and complete the shrine while you're here. Activating this terminal will open up the sky portion of this labyrinth and will trigger the Lomei Labyrinth Island Prophecy side quest. Alright, now for the sky portion. This is the Lomei Sky Labyrinth. It is very high up. There are a couple different ways you can get there. You can either go to the Ulri Mountain Skyview Tower and launch up from there and then glide/fly your way over, or if you have the Gikaku Shrine unlocked in the sky, you can warp to that shrine instead. It's a bit less of a flying distance and then fly your way over from there. Again, I highly recommend the air bike. It's one of the least expensive in terms of Zonite material, and one of the easiest to fly and navigate. It's still a fairly long flight from the Gikaku Shrine, so if you need it, make sure you have some Zonite charges on hand to refill your Zonite battery levels if they get too low. It will take almost 7 full Zonite battery cells flying the air bike to fly all the way to the Sky Island. That's almost 21 small Zonite battery cells. So some Zonite charges would definitely come in handy, as will the Zonite armor if you have it. There are 4 more terminals to activate in the sky portion of this labyrinth, and here they are marked on the map by the yellow stars. The top center of the map is actually where you're going to want to go first. This is where you're going to want to land with your air bike. Something to keep in mind is that this section of the labyrinth is in a low gravity area because it's so high up, so when you go to land the air bike and cancel its flying, it's going to drift forward a bit. After you land somewhere in this center section, open up your inventory and place a travel medallion. You'll want to use this travel medallion as a center warping point to come back to after you've activated each terminal in this part of the labyrinth. After you set the travel medallion, go ahead and hop back on the air bike, or if you've lost it, that's fine, just run back across the top of the labyrinth and land right down by the shrine and the main terminal you'll want to activate here. And don't forget to complete this shrine also. Once the shrine has been completed, go ahead and run up the stairs in front of you to activate this terminal, which will activate the Sky Labyrinth. And now it's time to warp back up to the travel medallion that you placed earlier on top of the labyrinth. You'll use this as a central warping spot to activate the other 4 terminals. You'll want to run and jump now to each of the 4 spots that I've marked with stars on the map, which is where the 4 terminals are that you'll need to activate in this labyrinth. Run to each of the locations, fall down, use the hang glider so you don't take damage, and activate each of those terminals. Once you've activated one, warp back to the travel medallion at the top of the labyrinth that you placed earlier and run to the next one. This is how you cheese this part of the labyrinth. I'm going to speed up this next section in showing you where to go to find the other 3 terminals that you'll need to activate to complete this sky portion of the labyrinth. As you jump over these different walls, just be sure to time your jumps carefully so that you don't fall down between the walls when there isn't a terminal below. The wind doesn't blow hard enough to carry Link all the way back up to the top. Once you activate the final terminal, a last terminal for this part of the labyrinth will appear on the roof. And this time, the winds inside the labyrinth will be strong enough to lift Link all the way to the top to make it a bit easier to reach. Activating this last terminal will open up the depths section of this labyrinth, and the way you get there is one of the funnest parts of these labyrinth quests, I think, is you get to dive from the very top all the way down to the bottom. So have Link jump off this jetting ledge and just let him fall all the way down. You will pass through some debris, careful not to hit it. And once you hit the gloom part of the drop, it might be a good idea to drop a giant bright bloom seed while you're falling so that it will light up the depths portion of the labyrinth before you get there. There are some poes that you can collect on the way down these stairs, and it's a pretty straight shot once you collect those poes to the bottom of the depths portion of the labyrinth, which is where you're headed to fight a Flux Construct 3. And pro tip, once you jump off the ledge, pull out your bow and use some strong arrow shots against the Flux Construct 3. I prefer to use the Gibdo bones, takes off a significant chunk of his health. And if you do this, once Link hits the ground, the Flux Construct will break apart immediately, giving you a chance to rush and melee attack it. And that is how you cheese the Flux Construct fight. Once you take him down, the final terminal will become available to activate. Activating it will complete the Lomei Labyrinth Island Prophecy side quest, and a treasure chest will rise out of the ground which contains the armor piece for the Evil Spirit Armor set. Equipping this entire armor set gives serious Ocarina of Time vibes. And if you equip a Dragonbone Boko Bat or a Molduga Jaw fused to a weapon, which is what I recommend with this armor set, your damage output is going to skyrocket, thanks to that bone weapon proficiency bonus that you get with this armor set. So that is how you solve and cheese all 3 labyrinths in Tears of the Kingdom. It's deceptively easy once you realize that you can just skip the maze part entirely by walking on the roof. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know which other areas of Tears of the Kingdom, shrines, or dungeons you'd like to see me cheese and like to see the solutions to by leaving a comment down below. And if you'd like to see how to create the best way to get around Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, click on the video on the screen or in the description right now to see how to create the air bike. Thanks so much for watching.